Good evening, all. Today is our 49th webinar talk, Coding and Crafts. Tips for beginners. We welcome our principal ma'am, speaker of the day, Mr. Dhanabal, faculty members, and all our alumni friends. Mr. Dhanabal belongs to the 2006 batch ECE branch. After his graduation, he worked with UTS Global Trivandrum for 5 years. He then moved to Kansas State, USA. Currently, he is working as lead software engineer at H&R Block, one of leading tax preparation company in US. He is living with his wife and 5-year-old daughter in US. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're in the world, everyone. Thanks, Vasantana, for the introduction. It's really an honor for me to talk in such forum. I mean, I watched most of the recorded sessions. I've attended a couple of live sessions. It's really great to see all the SRSE alumni members doing great things in different various fields. I've seen entrepreneurs, doctorates. So I am no special. Most of engineering graduates can relate with my career path. Passed out in 2006. Got a campus placement. Thanks to SREZ, I was lucky that I was in right place, right time. That's all the more reason why I wanted to talk about this topic today. Software is everywhere. Software is ubiquitous. It's in medical equipment, self-driving car, whatnot. That's going to keep on increasing, and we need better developers to create better software. So I hope today's talk will help at least some of young SREC developers out there. They say there's a study which says every 5 years the number of developers in the world double, which means at any point of time you will always see half the number of developers who have less than 5 years of experience. So it's really important to train them. They have to look at their craft with pride to do their job well. So I hope this talk will help in some way for some people. Let me share my screen. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes, Dhanabal.
Okay. So when we talk about craftsmanship, software craftsmanship, we will have to talk about these topics. This is what I'm going to cover today. I have around 30 slides, I guess. I shouldn't take more than 30 minutes. So these are nothing new. I mean, the inspiration for this comes from some of the software classic books, what we call timeless classics. I mean, I really like reading these kind of books, which like the ideas and principles discussed in these books is not specific to any programming language or any platform. It applies even today. These are old books, but the topics discussed here applies even today. Excuse me. So first and foremost is about readable code. So why is readable code important? So in development as a software developer, you read code most of the time. I mean, you don't write code, and not everyone gets an opportunity to work on a what we call as greenfield project. So you don't get to work on a project where you start from scratch. Most of the time you land on a legacy project where you will have to maintain someone else's code and add features to an existing project. So most of the time you'll end up reading the code rather than writing. So there's a saying that any fool can write a code that computer can understand, right? So you can make things work. Computer just understands the binaries. Good programmers write code that humans can understand. So it's considered rude to not think about people who will be reading your code down the road. It could even be yourself. Like you can look at your code few months down the lane and think what the heck the code is doing. So it's really important to spend time, spend that additional effort when writing code, because reading bad code is not good, and that will happen many times. Writing code happens only one time, right? So you take that additional effort to make the code readable, and think about people who will be maintaining the code in your mind. So be kind. So how can you write readable code? One thing is consistent style. So any person who joins a project, the first thing you should do is look at the coding standards they follow. I mean, there could be more than one way of doing things right way. So it's really the consistency that matters, rather than arguing what is better. So look at how they are doing. Are they using camel case, Pascal case? How are they handling global variables? How are they handling exceptions? So if it's done a certain way in some place, do the same thing everywhere in the project. Learn how they are doing it and do it that way. The consistency is what matters, rather than what is right and wrong. Next is meaningful names. So Robert C. Martin in his book Clean Code says you should name a variable using same care with which you name your firstborn child. So that tells you how important, how much thought you should give before naming variables and function names. Here are some examples. You should never be able to write a comment to explain what a variable does. That should be self-explanatory. Here are some good variable names. The second point is keep your functions small. When you write code, try to minimize. I mean, try to extract functions out of it, and keep it as small as possible. I mean, today's IDEs, Visual Studio and everything will come with a feature called extract method. So you can just highlight code and extract them into a smaller method. So keep on extracting until you can no longer extract. Because see, look at this. Like if there is a long method, it's hard to read. Also, if you extract them into smaller methods, I mean, you may say that your class is going to be full of small methods, but that's really going to help you. The function should do only one thing, and your name for the function should tell what that function does. So when you do that, the function will become like a synopsis of an essay. You can easily understand what the function does. If you want to drill down into a specific piece, you don't have to read all the way from the beginning. You can just look at it and drill down into that method. So try to keep your functions as small as possible. Third point around readable code is comments. Often we write comments to explain what the code does. The saying goes, comments are lies waiting to happen. Why? Because most of the times when you go back and update something in the code, developers tend to forget to update the comment. So code will always speak the truth, not the comments. So try to avoid comments as much as possible. Let the code speak for itself. Use comments only when really necessary. So that's about readable code. Next topic is the unit tests. I can't emphasize enough on the importance of unit test. It took me 5 years to understand, I really appreciate the significance of unit test and how to write better tests. So what is unit test? The unit tests are tests the developer writes. I mean, whoever writes the production code, the same person should write a test for that code. Those are unit tests. So it's basically you write code to test the code you wrote already. So here's an example. Like it's a simple add method on a calculator class, right? So it takes two arguments, adds it, and returns it. Your unit test would look something like this. you will supply a known input and you have a known output, and you make sure the method works fine. That's how you prove that your code which you wrote already works fine. So think of it like a a button you have. So if you push that button, everything goes green, which means everything in your code works fine. If something goes red, something is wrong, you have to go fix it. I mean, here's a screenshot from the actual test result from Visual Studio. So that if you think about it, that's a very powerful tool. Anytime you want to go make some change in the code, I mean, you have to have that a button that you should trust that button. And if you have to modify something, so let's say I go change the code, I want to add fix a bug or add a feature, I go modify the code, push the button, everything is green, I'm happy. Then I go do my next code. But if something goes wrong, I stop there, I go fix it, and then run the code. So you will be doing this button pushing many times in your career as a developer. So you have to understand how to write better tests. These tests have to be run frequently, and that's why it is important to understand how to write better tests. Tests should be fast. It should not depend on any other external databases or service calls. It should be independent. One test should not impact the other test. And it should not be based on environment. I mean, it should not run in one machine and not run in another machine. It should just tell you Boolean outputs, pass or fail. So if you're not already doing unit test, I mean, if you're doing that, well and good, great. But if you're a new developer and if you're not doing unit test in your project, please take time to learn. Please try to convince your leaders to implement unit test in your projects. There is also a practice called test-driven development. That goes even further and says, before even writing your production code, you should write your test. So basically, this would be an empty method here. You will write your test first, and obviously the test is going to fail because there is no code. Then you go and write your production code to make the test pass. Write just enough code to make the test pass, and then refactor it. We'll talk about refactoring in a minute, but it's basically to optimize the code. And this has to happen every few minutes. So while you're writing code, you constantly switch between tests and production code. So you write failing test, make the code to test pass, write the code to make the test pass. Then think about other scenarios, write tests, write the production code, and cycle goes on. So writing tests will actually increase the programming speed. You may think writing tests will slow you down, right? Especially if you're working on greenfield projects, you may think that, okay, so if there is a time pressure, let's say your manager comes back and says you have to deliver it in certain days, you may think you can skip unit tests, but that's going to impact you in long run. You may be able to deliver features fast in the beginning, but later down the road, even a small bug fix will take days. Because I worked on legacy projects where there is no enough unit test coverage, and there is a module that everyone is afraid to touch. I mean, if you touch it, you own it. If you touch something, it's going to break everywhere else. No one knows where all it will impact. So that's why unit test gives you that confidence to change the code, and it also forces you to design better, because if your code is not testable, it means it's tightly coupled. Somewhere you're directly calling databases, you're not designing it better. So if you can't write test, which means you'll have to go decouple that code, you'll have to follow patterns like dependency injection to decouple the code and write the tests. So for writing tests forces you to design better. So Also, it's a better documentation. Whenever someone new joins our team, I would say go look at the unit test. I mean, that will tell you what the code does. So there's a lot of advantages in writing good unit test. So that's really important. So next is refactoring. What's refactoring? Martin Fowler in his book says refactoring is restructuring existing code without altering the behavior. So basically, the end user will not see any change to the behavior of the application. There is no value addition to the end user, but you will have to change the code, restructure or redesign the code. Why you have to do that? Like, why not you design it correctly the first time, right? But unfortunately, that's not going to happen because in software development, over the period of time, you will get new perspectives of the problem. You will get new ideas, and you will have to constantly restructure the code, redesign it, so it is still scalable and maintainable. So that's why it is really important for us as developers to educate managers and business owners the importance of refactoring. If you don't do refactoring, it's going to cause a lot of issues. There's a theory called broken window theory. This is actually an experiment that psychologists and police officers really did. So there was an abandoned building. So nothing happened to that building, and they made a small crack in the window and then watched it. After that hole was made in the window, after a window was broken, then people started vandalizing it. I mean, that's the human nature. Like people think that it's no one maintains it, no one's there, no one cares, and people started ripping off all the windows and everything. So the same thing happens for code. I mean, if you see an issue, if you see something is wrong, try to fix it immediately. Try to refactor it, restructure it, do it immediately. I mean, neglect accelerates the rot faster than any other factor. So that is what we call as technical debt. So we'll acquire technical debt over the period of time. There will be room for improvements. You will have to talk to your business owners and managers, add stories to do that restructuring, do that refactoring, and fix those technical debts. So one cure for technical debt is what they say is this Boy Scout rule. So what does the Scout rule say is try and leave this world a little bit better than you found it. So the same applies for code. So if you are working on a module and if you see that there is something wrong, no matter who the original author was, right? So if there is something wrong in the code that you're working, try to fix it. So leave the code a little bit better than how you found it. I mean, if everyone starts doing it, the code will really become better. You can reduce the code smells and you can reduce the technical debt. So next is estimation. So as a developer, one day or another, you will definitely be asked to estimate how long a work or a project is going to take. It could be big, like you may have to give estimate in thousands of hours, or it could be a small task in a single sprint. But we often do a poor job in estimation as developers. I mean, a poor estimation will cause a lot of bad things both to the project as well as personally to you. In Steve in his book says 40% of all software errors have been found to be caused by stress. The stress caused by the scheduling. I mean, underestimation. And I have been in that boat. Oftentimes I'm still learning. I mean, countless nights I've spent because I've underestimated and trying to meet that commitment. So why people underestimate, why developers tend to underestimate? We always assume that things will go well. Sometimes we do come up with good estimates, but we lack that stubbornness to say no to our managers. I mean, it would go like this. I mean, manager would come and ask like how much this project would take. You go back, talk to your team, crunch some numbers, and say, okay, this is going to take 2 weeks with 2 developers, right? And he comes back and says, can you do it in 1 week? I mean, there is really a tight deadline, and can you try at least? You cannot never say you're going to try. I mean, you can never negotiate how long a project is going to take. That's like negotiating how many feet are in a mile. Maybe you can say you can cut down features, you can remove features, but you can never negotiate how long it's going to take. Also, some managers think that men and months are interchangeable. I mean, they think adding more men, you can deliver things faster. That's not how it's going to work. In book Mythical Man Month, there's a quote which says, you cannot have 9 mothers deliver a baby in a single month. Some of the projects are in a linear nature, especially software development you cannot split it like that. Adding manpower to late software project always makes it late. So how can you do better estimation then, right? In estimation, like is like predicting future. So how else can you do right estimation? I mean, if you can never be accurate. I mean, if you want to be accurate down to the date and time, only way to do that is to complete the project. Uh, but you will have to give estimate within 1 or 2 days, right? Before even project starts. So how can you do it better? So one thing that has always helped me is uh, break it down into smaller tasks as much as possible. I mean, talk to your team, talk to people who have historical knowledge on the team, who knows about the productivity of the team. Try to break it down as much as possible. Then estimate those smaller tasks. I mean, some could be high, some could be low, but they will even out each other, and you'll end up in a good estimate. Also, don't forget about implied requirements. I mean, there could be non-functional requirements. There could always be hidden requirements. Keep drilling your business analysts. Keep asking questions. Find out those hidden requirements before giving estimates. Also include the activities like code review, bug fixing, mentoring new team members. All those things has to be taken into account when you're giving estimate. If you're estimating on a longer project, think about account for sick days, vacation days, all those stuffs. Okay, I don't know if I'm going fast or slow. This is the last topic, personal character, which is my favorite. Why should we talk about personal character when talking about software development, right? When you look at other engineering disciplines, you will end up researching physical materials like concrete, steel, and wood. But this is development is purely thought stuff, right? We are building air castles. It's all intellectual stuff. So when you end up studying our material, it's really your mind and your personal character. So again, Steve McConnell in his book Code Complete says if you want to be a good developer, you have to cultivate these characters. Dijkstra in his paper says a competent programmer is fully aware of the limited size of his own skull. So he therefore approaches clever tricks like plague. So you don't do clever tricks. You really don't have to be super intelligent to be a very good developer. I mean, intelligence is only loosely connected to being a good programmer. It's really the character that is a decisive factor. Most of the time, it's the ego that keeps you from becoming a good programmer. The more humble you are, the faster you will learn and faster you will improve. Intellectual honesty. So what some of I mean, for example, if you pretend to be an expert in when you are not, that's not honesty, right? So if you act like you know everything, you can never learn anything. If you don't know something, say don't know, and then you learn fast. Also, admit mistakes quickly and emphatically. So if you make a mistake, denying it only hurt you. I mean, everyone will think that they are working on a prideful programmer who is not completely honest. Especially in today's corporate culture, no one is going to uh, you know judge you or blame you. In our company, we have this no blame culture. So if you make a mistake, admit it quickly and see how you can correct it. Also, when providing status reports, right? Give a realistic, honest status report. Same goes with estimate. So if a manager asks you, oftentimes how much is the progress, we would say 90% is complete, even though only 50% is complete. So be honest there, and your managers will really appreciate that. I mean, also, again, on the estimation topic, right? You if you say no and if you stand ground, your manager will really appreciate that, because he is going to plan a lot of other projects based on your estimate. It's like a domino effect. So stand the ground and say no when you have to say no. That's one common mistake we do as developers. So creativity and discipline. So some people think that the standards and conventions restrict creativity. Uh, so it's not true. Some great artists like Leonardo and Michelangelo. So when Michelangelo did this painting of 300 figures, he actually divided these sections into geometric sections like triangles, circles. He imposed a self discipline on him, and then only he was able to achieve this. So form is liberating, the saying goes. So if you cannot directly jump into coding and start doing without following the process. So you'll have to analyze the requirements first, do the design, follow all the process, and that will actually enable creativity. This is another favorite topic. I mean, everyone should agree with this. In development, software development, you have to have this character. You have to cultivate this habit of curiosity and learning. Half of what you know today will be outdated in 3 years. When I started, I mainly work on .NET and C#. When I started, I used to work on web forms, then MVC. After 3 years, there was this browser plugins like Silverlight. That was the craze. And then came HTML5, Angular, now microservices, cloud. So things keep changing. It's not what you know, it's how fast you can learn things quick, new things. Only that matters. So keep reading. In this day and age, you have so many ways to learn. I mean, knowledge is everywhere. It's accessible to everyone from in every corner of the world. You have audiobooks. You have Twitter. Twitter is really an underrated learning platform. You can really follow directly. You can follow the people who wrote the book or who wrote the project. You can join Slack channels, YouTube. Uh, Affiliate with other professionals. I mean, try to attend conferences, local user groups. And that also improves the relationship, right? I mean, they say results and relationship are important for your progress in career. And oftentimes, developers, we tend to be introverts. We just do the task that is assigned to us. That's one thing I learned over the years. Relationship and networking is really important. And experiment. I mean, not just learning. Theoretical knowledge is not useful, right? So you keep on experimenting. Again, nowadays we have a lot of free tools and everything to tryout stuffs. So if you can't learn at your job, find a new one. I'm serious. Lastly, he says about communication, cooperation. That needless to say, communication is really important, especially if you're working on multiple geographic locations. Always over communicate. And also he says about enlightened laziness. So if you are doing something repetitively in a brute force method, try to automate it. Try to write some scripts or code. Be lazy in that way. So that's all about personal character. I think I think I come to the end. Before I wrap up, I really want to thank the organizers. I mean, there is a scene in this movie called Enemy at Gates, where Germans are Russians are losing to Germans, and a commander comes and asks this German lieutenants, what shall we do to improve the morale? One of the senior lieutenant, Danilov, he says, we need to tell magnificent stories. We need to give real world examples. Like we need to give examples that people can follow, right? In fact, that's exactly what your team is doing. You're telling stories. You are bringing people from real world, and if this can ignite a small spark in one of our some of our engineering students, right? Some of our SRECians, that's really a success of this webinar series. And kudos to all of the organizers. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you. We can open it for questions.
Hi, Dana. Padma here. I was very much able to connect with whatever you said, as I also started my career as a developer more into the technology background. Most of the points you covered, I just wanted to understand the importance of documentation. Coding is one part where you talk mostly about the design or modularity, unit testing. How important is it to have the technical specification done, or do you think it's outdated now? It's not needed. Just wanted to hear on those lines, because me as a developer, I hated documentation. When I started, documentation was forced on me, which I did not like much. I always wanted to jump into the coding and show results. It was more into showing the output rather than creating documentation or artifacts that might be useful for the next people who are going to maintain this code. But however, when I moved on to my next level of managing a team, then I could totally agree that this documentation piece, if missed out, that would cause a big gap when there is a new member adding on to the team, or as you said, a late joiner in the team for whatsoever reason. Yes, I agree that putting in more people later in the project doesn't help, but we do have exceptional cases where we may hit this case, and only at those crises, it's only the on this documentation, creating artifacts.
Yeah, sure, Padma. I mean, definitely some level of documentation is really important. When we did waterfall, right, at that time we had to document everything first, then start development, then do testing. But we moved on from there. Nowadays it's all agile and Scrum and extreme programming. So we give less importance to documentation. But I definitely agree that after the fact, after your implementation, your technical documentation has to be done. So it will help anyone who joins the team. You don't have to do it before your project starts. Maybe after your project is done, or middle of your project, you should start putting technical details, the design documents. Of course, keeping up to date is a challenge, right? So you may document it now, but after things change, people forget to go and update and keep it up to date.
Yeah.
That's the challenge. But high level documentation, definitely it's required, and we will have to spend time on it.
GAME, TIME.
And that's one of the reason, like, this writing skills is also very important. As a if you grow as you grow more and more into your, when you become a lead, and right, so you need this technical writing skills to be improved. You will do a lot of emailing, explaining, documentation, and you'll have to explain things, technical things, in a simple manner to non-technical people. So you need to improve the documentation skills.
கோட் எப்படி எழுதணும் அப்படின்னு கோட் போட்டு காமிச்சிருக்கீங்க. Yeah, it took me back to my good old developer days, the best days I would say in the IT team, where you have a lot of time to understand, explore things, while you still don't know the pressure of customers or client which the managers and the leads are handling. You are still behind the supporting walls. You don't really get hit unless and until there is a real deadline crunch, but still you have the freedom to go explore, get things done. Yeah, those were the good old days.
I mean, yeah, I mean, maybe that's what we should improve, right? Developers need not be behind that wall.
Yeah.
We should educate them. We should give them that sense of urgency, and we should really educate them, give them the high level, big picture, and say what's really happening in the other side, right? I mean, and then they realize that's the communication part I've seen, especially between on-site and offshore, right? So you don't give the full picture to them, and that's the reason why you feel like they are in the other side of the wall, and they just do what you assign them to do.
I think that's what has been improved in the agile platform, where you know what is going on in the project. Like as a developer, to me, add X plus Y was mere adding X plus Y, but for the business or the client, it would have been revenue. It's more in dollars. While for the developer, it was just numbers. So if we have better understanding on what the whole project is, as you said, I think developers can perform even more better. And on the estimates part, yes, I do agree that we have to go in detail, account for those things. But most of the cases, I see that you don't even know who's going to work on what. We don't have a team yet, but still we go ahead with submitting our estimates and the plan. And most of the time there's a gap or a difficulty there. I would say we cannot overestimate or we cannot underestimate, and it's quite very challenging, I would say. So is there anything that
Yeah, you can never overestimate. I mean, of course, you will have to justify your estimates to your leaders. So we've always seen problem of underestimation only. Most of the times, you never overestimate.
We cannot win the project; we lose it. So yes, we keep it behind.
Yeah, it's a manager's job to decide whether the project is worth the cost, right? But as a developer, our job is to tell how much it's going to take time. We cannot negotiate there. We cannot. I mean, after committing, I'll complete it in 7 days, 15 days. If you cannot complete it, that's going to cause even more loss than upfront saying you cannot do it. So you just give honest estimate to your leaders, and let the leaders decide whether to pursue with that project or not.
Just last question. I know I'm taking most of the time. Last question on the very interesting part of saying a no. Right? What, as a lead or a manager, what should be done to ensure that developers are able to voice it out? I'm not sure. It should come from a developer. I feel that it should also come from a developer, as well as the lead or the manager should give that comfort level of giving the confidence to the developer to say it. Meaning to say that, yes, as a manager, I will listen. I will first listen. Okay, if you have a no, say it out. Let's discuss over a short
Mr. Jelly,
Eating in
is
the
it
case.
boiling?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think
Yeah.
that what stops a developer from saying a no, and what can be done to change this behavior from a developer?
Yeah, I mean, what stops them? It's really their nature, their characters. Oftentimes, people who come into this development profession are people who are like introverts and who are not outspoken. And people who become managers are the other opposite, right? That's what happens. And I think we should really encourage them to come up with the honest estimate and uh, also learn about that you cannot really negotiate. I mean, you cannot force them to do a project in a certain
Mm.
number of days if it's going to take really a long time. I mean, it's really education, right? I mean, knowing about this. Also, it comes down to empowerment. So if your manager is really nice and he empowers the team members, then you have that comfort zone where you can speak the truth and you can speak honestly to your managers. I guess over the experience only.
And just nod their heads for whatever commitments a member in a team, I believe they should set the example and they should exhibit this character of saying a no when it is really a no.
Right. In fact, people respect that rather than just giving answer what your manager want. When you stand your ground and when you say no, people respect that.
Yeah. Thank you, Dana. That was nice talking. Yep.
Yeah, Dhanabal. Yeah, this is Dr. Santosh.
Hello, ma'am.
IT department and actually, the
That's, voice is
very,
very
very
stable.
wonderful. Our students also participated in this program. I think it will be very useful for them as a beginners. Thank you very much for your presentation, Dhanabal. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure, ma'am. Thanks.
Audience, if you have any other question, you can just put it to the speaker.
Hi, Dhanapal. This is Mahendra. So I'm from the
Yeah, hi.
LC background. Yeah, I'm currently working as a tech lead in Cognizant. For the last 3 years, I'm working at here. So actually, I like the way you presented things, especially the 4 new books, right? I just took a screenshot of that. Even I will take a look on that in my free time. It's very useful. And the way you presented also, it is, yeah, good touching one. Yeah, I would like to take a note of that, and I will exhibit to my team also.
Yeah, thanks, Mahendra.
Yeah.
And you
So
can reach out to me anytime if you want anything. Yeah.
yeah, sure. You're available. I'm waiting
Yeah,
for
I mean, I can share my email.
Sure. Yeah, I can share. Yeah, I'll take a note. So the point you discussed with someone, right? Actually, I work under non-technical Scrum Masters. So I don't know why people are going from a tech lead to a promoting level to a manager. They're just losing their technicality, and it's actually greatly impacting the team. And if you say, right, தல சரியில்லைன்னா team நல்லா இருக்காது அப்படின்ற மாதிரி, the manager itself is not actually technical person. He's not understanding the technical things in the team.
I liked it really. When managers are technical, they tend to interfere with a lot of things we do. So
Yeah,
manager's
true.
job is to manage resources, right? I mean, remove
Correct.
impediments. So they should do their job and we should do our job.
Exactly. But what I'm trying to say, sometimes it's very hard to override them, and there are kind of people issues they have to deal with, right? And there are people issues they're
Right.
coming to the tech lead instead of going to the Scrum
Correct.
Master or the manager. So that
Right.
also
People
happens.
issues, definitely. That's their area, right?
Correct.
People issues are their
Correct.
area, not the technical
Yeah.
thing. They don't have to know technical
Exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mahendra. I just wanted to convey such a couple of points.
I'm sorry, I'm just now going through the chat and someone said my voice was inaudible. Sorry for that. I should have seen the chat previously. I hope it was not too bad.
Probably for some people they might have had a problem. For me it was good.
Okay. Hi S. Jayanti ma'am. I see your comment now. Thanks for your words.
Hello, how are you?
நான் brain பத்தி அப்போ அந்த
Communication, coding, character எல்லாம் சூப்பர்.
மேம் தனா ஒரு ஸ்லீப்பர்ஸ் எல்லாம் இருந்திருக்காரு மேம் நம்ம எஸ்ஆர்இசில.
தனபால் இல்ல பத்மா, தனபால் வாஸ் வெரி ஸ்மார்ட். அப்பவே ஆர்கே சார் இருக்கார்ல, ஆர்கே சாரோட ஒரு பெரிய ப்ராஜெக்ட் பண்ணி கொடுத்தாரு தனபால் பத்மா. அப்பவே ரொம்ப ஃபேமஸ் தான் தனபால். ஆனா லாங்குவேஜ் இம்ப்ரூவ்மெண்ட் எல்லாம் டெக்னிக்கலா லாங்குவேஜ் நல்லா வெரி குட் ஸ்பீக்கர் ஆயிட்டாரு இப்போ.
That's a big compliment ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. ரொம்ப
பத்மாவோட ட்ரைனிங்கா இருக்கு போதே.
யார் அது? பெருமாள் சார்.
பத்மா வந்து காலேஜ்லயே இப்படிதாங்க சார்.
அதுதான் சொல்றேன். இல்ல பத்மா தான் சைலண்ட் கில்லர் இருந்தாங்களே, எந்த சைலண்ட் கில்லர்னு தெரியல. சைலண்டா இருக்கிறவங்கள கில் பண்றவங்க.
அம்மா சும்மா pretend பண்றேன்.
Great talking, Dhanapal. I think Shamir is in the call.
Yes, Thomas. After the closing remarks, Shamir wants to have his book review. He's a bit late today.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Thomas, sir?
Yes, sir. Please.
Krishnappa.
Sir, good evening, sir. Good
evening, sir. Dhanapal gave a very nice lecture.
Thank you, sir.
One message to the audience. Dhanapal is a best NSS student volunteer of our college. In the year 2005-06, he has been awarded with the best state level NSS student volunteer award from the state government of Tamil Nadu. And he is a very active member of Blood Donors Club along with Anburaj and his team. I could able to remember that on a particular day, he could be able to mobilize 240 units of blood to the Coimbatore Medical College Hospital. Hope that in the year 2003 or 4. He is a very active member in the tsunami relief team and participated in the relief activity. Never taken much food during those 3 days. He's so calm, sincere, and he's a very goal-oriented student at the time. So we are very proud to have you as our
very good
lecture.
Thank you so much
today, Dhanapal.
Silent worker தெரியும் சார் எல்லாம். அவர் ரொம்ப NSSல ஆக்டிவா இருந்தாரு. படிக்கிறது ரொம்ப நல்லா படிப்பாரு.
Yes, madam. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, sir.
கிருஷ்ணப்பா உன்னோட சிஷ்ய பிள்ளைன்னு சொல்லிட்டேன்.
Yes, sir.
கண்டிப்பா சார், அதுதான் உண்மை.
அதான் தெரியும்டா தம்பி, நம்ம தான் ஹாஸ்டல்ல இருந்தோம்ல.
ஆமா சார்.
ஓகே
தனபால் சார், உங்களை பத்தி சொல்றதுக்கு நிறைய விஷயங்கள் இல்லைன்னு யோசிச்சேன். ஆனா உள்ள வரவங்க எல்லாம் உங்களை பத்தி ஏதாவது விஷயம் சொல்லிட்டே இருக்காங்க. அவ்வளோ பெர்ஃபார்மா இருந்திருக்கீங்க நீங்க காலேஜ் டைம்ல.
Thank you.
ரொம்ப மரியாதையான பையங்க சார். அப்போ
யார் பாது
சார்? கரெக்ட் தானேங்க சார் பெருமாள் சார்?
நீங்க சொல்லிட்டா முடிஞ்சு போச்சு. அதுக்கப்புறம் நோ அப்பீல் இல்ல.
இல்ல சார், எல்லாத்துலயும் ஸ்மார்ட்டா இருக்க பசங்க சொல்லபடி கேட்க மாட்டாங்க இல்லையா யூசுவலா?
ஆமா.
ஆனா தனபால் வந்து ஆப்போசிட். ரொம்ப மரியாதை கொடுப்பாருங்க சார் எல்லாருக்குமே.
பாருங்க, இந்த வசிஷ்டர் கையால குட்டு போடணும்னு சொல்ற மாதிரி நீங்க சொல்லிட்டீங்க
சார். நிஜமா தாங்க சார். நீங்க வேணா கேட்டு பாருங்களேன் அப்ப இருந்தவங்க எல்லாம்.
எனக்கு தெரியுங்க, நான் ஹாஸ்டல்ல பாத்துருக்கேன்ல. நான் டெப்டி வார்டன் டியூட்டரலா இருந்திருக்கேன்ல.
கரெக்ட்.
அதே மாதிரி தான் ரொம்ப அமைதியா இருப்பாரு.
அதான்
இல்லாட்டி இப்படி நான் வச்சிட்டு இருக்க முடியாது இல்லையாங்க சார் பெருமாள் சார்.
கண்டிப்பா.
Yeah. Thanks everyone.
Thanks Dhanapal. All the best.
Very good memories. Yeah, really beautiful. So Vasant sir, Dhanapal sir, since there are no other queries, shall we go for the closing remarks?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dhanapal C, 2006 ECE, for the wonderful session. This is the 49th webinar talk what SREC Alumni Association has made it. Thank you, Dhanapal, for readily accepting our invitation through Padma Shri. Thank you, Padma Shri, for roping in Dhanapal today. It is indeed a pleasure and pride moment for us to host Dhanapal here. Thank you, audience, for joining this particular meet. Thank you, one and all student friends. It is indeed a pleasure to have you. Thank you, faculty team, for being with us today. Next in pipeline is our book review by Shamir sir. After that, we'll be having our kids game session by Padma Shri. Thank you, one and all.
Thanks, Thomas sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm sir.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible, sir? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So, yes, sir. Respected Mr. Vasant sir, Mrs. Padma, Naveen, and SREC Association, Alumni Association. Sorry for being late. It was supposed to be the first event. It so happened that I have to join late after another meet that I have to finish by 6:15. Very good talk by Dhanapal. I wish him all the best and wish him all success for the days to come. And today we have been reviewing a lot of business books. Of course, last 2 weeks we have discussed two very significant starting from mindset, and we discussed another book last week. This week we are going to review Sync Influence. Can you see this book? Yes. Sync Influence, and the author is Yagneshwaran Ganesh. Okay. The book is Sync Influence, and the author is Yagneshwaran Ganesh, and the publisher is notionpress.com from Chennai. Very significant book if you are into branding and influencing. And this Yagneshwaran Ganesh happens to be one of my best friends as well. He's an author. This is his second book, and I want to review this book today. And as I said, it's a book for influencers. If you are interested in social media, if you are into digital marketing, if you are into SEO, or if you are into business, any business for that matter, this book will be highly useful for you. So this book is divided into four parts. And in short, it tells you how to be an influencer in your business community. So starting with what makes an influencer, how can you influence someone? And he also stresses the importance of building a community around you. So important that you build a community around you, a community for a product, or community for your service, for your business. So it's important to build a community around you. And then if you are a business owner, you have to understand your customer's journey, and you have to understand what your customer wants. Very significant if you want to be a business influencer. And you have to have the right influencer for your business. Okay, influencer is nothing but someone who can influence your business. It can be your CXO, it can be your CEO, it can be a CMO, or it can be a CFO. And every company will have a face. Every good company, great company will have a brand, a face. So he's known as an influencer. And he also tells us when to make noise. That is when to make an impact in terms of advertising. And he says that influencer is not about likes or followers. It's about impacting people. We think that in social media, likes is important, followership is important. Yes, likes are important, but he tells that likes or the reach, the reach alone is not important, but what matters is the impact. And he advises the message, the marketing message, to keep it as simple as possible. Don't be flashy. The message should be as simple and as straightforward as possible. And you need to be a very good storyteller. Yes, Dhanapal, I think in the last slide he mentioned about the importance of storytelling. It's the same here. The author tells us to develop good storytelling abilities, and your brand or your product or your service should have a very good story around it. And then he advises to sell your product or service with conviction. Then you should be very UX centered. Yes, that was another point that Dhanapal pointed out today. UX or user centeredness, UX or UI is very important in today's product development world. And he advises to develop a good UI for your product customers or service customers. And then he advises to focus on the details. Yes, that there is a proverb, a very famous proverb. It says that devil is in the detail. He advises to focus on the details, and then he advises, he recommends, the readers or the users of the not to be always bot oriented. Yes, there may be some processes which can be automated, and there are some processes which requires manual treatment as well. So he recommends not all processes, marketing processes should be automatic. Today I see a lot of bots. When you open up a website, all it comes is a bot, and we are forced to go by whatever bot we see on the screen. He advises not to be too programmatic, not to be too dependent on bots. Yes, there should be a manual phase, and there should be a human phase with some empathy. And that very significant.
ரெண்டு பேர் தான் இருக்கீங்க, 3 பேர் தான் இருக்கீங்க.
I can see this 1 2 3 4 5 6 7.
இது நம்ம போன வாரம் பார்த்தாச்சு.
Can you do this again?
Yeah, not this one.
I know all about this. And one. Oh, nothing also.
விஜேஷ் விகாஷ்னி உங்களுக்காக தான் வெயிட்டிங். ரெடினா சொல்லுங்க. ரெடியா?
நான் ஒன்னு காமிக்டா ஃபர்ஸ்ட்.
ஏதோ காமிக்கறியா? இரு.
என்ன டிராயிங் காமிக்டா.
அது என்னதுன்னு சொல்ல அவங்களுக்கு தெரியாது, நீ சொன்னாதான் தெரியும்.
வந்து ஒரு டாக் மேட்ல கால் அப்ப போன் கடிச்சிட்டே இருக்குடா, அப்ப டெடி இருக்குடா.
ஓகே, வெரி நைஸ். சோ இப்போ நம்ம வந்து
சூப்பர்
நான் ஒன்னு டிரா பண்ணு. வெயிட் ஃபார் a minute.
டிரா பண்ணிட்டு வாங்க. சரி, நாம இன்னைக்கு செஷனுக்கு போவோம்.
நான் போட்டா which ring
பாரு.
open.
ஒரு இமேஜ் தெரியுதா உங்களுக்கு? 4 ரிங் இருக்கு. இந்த ரிங்ல ஒரே ஒரு ரிங்க கழட்டிட்டோம்னா மிச்சது எல்லாமே தனித்தனியா வந்துரும். அது எந்த ரிங்?
blue or yellow?
blue
color. நான் also blue color சொன்னேன்.
விஜேஷ் அண்ணா
blue color.
ஓகே, ஆன்சர் பாத்துறலாம்.
Blue,
is the right answer.
Yes, I was right. Do you know how இத டேக் பண்ணிட்டோன்னு இந்த 2 கிலோ இந்த ரோஸ் இத டேக் பண்ணிட்டோன்னா இந்த 2 கிலோ.
ஓகே, இப்போ
the real thing is the blue.
இப்போ அடுத்த ஒரு சின்ன ட்விஸ்ட்.
Which ring needs to open with an address intact?
அதாவது இதுக்கு முன்னாடி கேட்ட கேள்வினா எந்த ஒரு ரிங்கை நீங்க கழட்டினீங்கன்னா மிச்சம் எல்லாமே தனித்தனியா வரும்னு கேட்டிருந்தோம். இப்போ எந்த ஒரு ரிங்கை கழட்டினா the other 3 rings will still be intact. அது கனெக்ட் ஆயே இருக்கும்.
green.
கிரீனா? எத்தனை பேர் கிரீன் சொல்றீங்க?
நானு 1.
எத்தனை பேர் எல்லோவா? சரி, விகாஷ்னி எல்லோ, விஜேஷ் அண்ணா கிரீன், ஸ்மயன் கிரீன். யாரோ ஒருத்தர் வேற மெசேஜ் பண்ணிருக்காங்க எல்லோ. நிறைய பேர் எல்லோ சொல்லிருக்கீங்க. ஓகே, எனி அதர் ஆன்சர்? ஆன்சர் போலாமா? Did you say yellow? How many said yellow? நிறைய பேர் yellow சொன்னீங்க. Did you say green? ஆமா, சில பேர் greenும் சொன்னீங்க. Actually ஆன்சர் என்ன? Yellow or green ஆர் ரெட். எதை கழட்டினாலுமே இந்த 3ல எதை எடுத்தாலுமே மிச்ச 3 அப்படியே இருக்கும்.
எவ்ரிதிங்.
ட்ரை பண்ணி பாருங்க. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் क्वेश्चனும் செகண்ட் क्वेश्चனும் ஆல்மோஸ்ட் சேம்.
Can you do that box again?
ஃபர்ஸ்ட் क्वेश्चन கேட்கும்போது டைரக்டா இருந்தது.
And the box again.
இரு, டைரக்டா இருந்தது. எந்த ஒரு ரிங் வந்து எல்லாத்துக்கு கூடவும் கனெக்ட் ஆயிருக்கு அப்படிங்கறதா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் क्वेश्चन. அது ஈஸியா இருந்தது. ப்ளூ கலர்னு கரெக்டா சொல்லிட்டீங்க. சோ அதோட காம்ப்ளிமெண்டரி क्वेश्चन தான் இது.
வந்தா அந்த box again போலாமா?
போலாம் இருங்க. So the answer is yellow or green or red. ஏனா இது எல்லாமே வந்து
blue take off.
yellow பாத்தீங்கன்னா எது கூட கனெக்ட் ஆயிருக்கு? ப்ளூ கூட மட்டும் தான் கனெக்ட் ஆயிருக்கு. கரெக்ட்டா? So yellow blue வந்து எல்லார் with all the rings. ஓகேங்களா? So first question and second question ரெண்டுமே ஓரளவுக்கு ரிலேட்டட் क्वेश्चन தான். பட் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் क्वेश्चन ரொம்ப டைரக்டா ஈஸியா இருந்தனால ப்ளூ அப்படினு கரெக்ட்டா சொல்லிட்டோம்.
Can you go to
ரைட்.
next go?
அடுத்து போலாம்.
இத again பண்ணோம்.
இப்போ வந்து சில நம்பர்ஸ் வரும் உங்களுக்கு.
But box வேணும்.
What sign goes in between the numbers to make the equation correct? 3 7 இருக்கு. இந்த 3 7ல இருந்து you have to bring a 6. என்ன பண்ணா அந்த ரெண்டு 3 7க்கு
7 minus.
What is 7 minus 7 minus 7? சொல்லுங்க.
7
You should make it 6.
Plus and minus.
Yes, எங்க கிளாஸ் டாப்பர் கரெக்ட்டா ஆன்சர் பண்ணிருக்காங்க. குட்டீஸ் இந்த ஈக்குவேஷன் வந்து கரெக்ட்டா இருக்கும்.
ஒரு மைனஸ்.
என்னென்ன சைன்ஸ் இருக்கு அத ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சொல்லுங்க.
நான் சொல்றேன். minus plus percent times
cross times
multiplication.
That is on times. That's all you know. Okay. விகாஷ் நீங்க சொல்லுங்க என்னென்ன சைன்லாம் இருக்கு? கேக்கல நீங்க பேசுறது எனக்கு. பிளஸ் இருக்கு, மைனஸ் இருக்கு, அப்புறம் டிவிஷன் அப்புறம்
டிவிஷன் நான் மறந்துட்டேன்.
நீங்க பேசுறது வேற என்ன போடலாம்?
மைனஸ்
7 plus 7 minus 7.
7 plus 7 வந்து 14 minus 7 7.
7 அப்ப 7 equal to 6 இல்ல, அதுவும் தப்பு. அந்த மாதிரி என்ன போடலாம்?
division multiplication. First division அப்புறம் multiplication.
யோசிக்கிட்டோம்.
I don't know. Can you just tell the answer?
ஆன்ட்டி
சொல்லுங்க.
என்னன்னா செகண்ட் இது இருக்குங்க ஆன்ட்டி. செகண்ட் 7 அந்த லாஸ்ட் 2 7 அதுக்கு முன்னாடி வந்து டிவிஷன். So 7 divided by 7.
விகாஷ் நீ உங்களுக்கு புரிஞ்சுதா இல்லையா? புரியல தானே?
எனக்கு புரியல.
உங்களுக்கும் புரியல. ஓகே 7 minus 7 divided by division.
7 minus 7 0.
0 divided by 7?
0 divided by 7, 6.
0. 7 minus 7 எவ்வளோ?
7 minus 7, 0.
நீங்க பேசுறதே
0 aunty.
0. அப்ப 0 divided by 7 எவ்வளோ?
Divided by
பாப்பு கேக்கல, மியூட்ல இருக்கு.
hello.
கேக்குது. 0 divided by 7 எவ்வளோ?
0 divided by 7, 0.
0. அப்ப 0 equal to 6 ன்னு வருது. அண்ணா சொன்னது இது எப்படி கரெக்ட் ஆகும்?
Evaluation.
எப்படி கரெக்ட் ஆகுது?
செவன்ல இருந்து என்ன நம்பர் மைனஸ் பண்ணா 6 வரும் பாப்பு?
அப்பா உங்க வாய்ஸ் கேட்கல.
இல்ல அது கேட்கல நானு. சரி நீங்க நம்ம அண்ணா கிட்ட இப்ப கேட்போமா? எப்படி என்ன 7 minus 7 0, 0 divided by 7 0, எப்படி இது வந்து கரெக்ட்னு சொல்றீங்க அப்படின்னு அண்ணாவை கேட்போமா? அண்ணா சொல்லுங்க.
ஆன்ட்டி அந்த அந்த டிவிஷன் வந்து ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பண்ணனுங்க ஆன்ட்டி.
ஏன்?
7 divided by 7 ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பண்ணிடணுங்க ஆன்ட்டி. அப்ப வந்து 1 வந்துரும். அப்புறம் 7 minus 1 is equal to 6.
அது அந்த ரூலுக்கு பேர் என்ன? ஏன் சப்ட்ராக்ஷன் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பண்ணக்கூடாது, ஏன் டிவிஷன் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பண்ணணும்? அந்த சீக்வென்ஸ் என்னது? அதுக்கு ஒரு ரூல் சொல்லுவாங்க மேக்ஸ்ல. ஏன் நீங்க டிவிஷன் ஃபர்ஸ்ட், ஏன் வந்து மைனஸ் பண்ணக்கூடாது, ஏன் டிவிஷன் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பண்ணீங்க? தெரியலையா?
ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி.
டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூட்டிவ் ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி இல்ல. டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூட்டிவ் ப்ராப்பர்ட்டினா a cross b plus 1 is ab plus a. அதுதான் டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூட்டிவ். இது என்னது? இந்த ரூலுக்கு வந்து என்ன சொன்ன ஸ்கூல்ல சொல்லி தரலையா? அந்த ரூல் பாட்மாஸ் ரூல்னு சொல்லி தரலையா?
இல்லைங்க ஆன்ட்டி.
சோ என்னன்னா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் b for bracket, இந்த ஈக்குவேஷன்ல ஏதாச்சும் பிராக்கெட் அப்புறம் ஃப்ளவர் பிராக்கெட் கர்லி பிராக்கெட்ஸ்லாம் இருந்துச்சுன்னா அதுக்குள்ள இருக்கிறது தான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் நீங்க கால்குலேட் பண்ணணும். அதுக்கப்புறமா டிவிஷன், அப்புறமா மல்டிப்ளிகேஷன், அப்புறமா அடிஷன், அப்புறமா சப்ட்ராக்ஷன். இந்த சீக்வென்ஸ்ல தான் பண்ணணும். ஒரு 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 ஈக்குவேஷன்ல இந்த மாதிரி நிறைய நம்பர்ஸ் நிறைய சைன்ஸ் இருந்துச்சுன்னா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் என்ன பண்ணணும்? பிராக்கெட்ஸ்குள்ள இருக்கிறத கிளியர் பண்ணணும். அதுக்கப்புறமா டிவிஷன் ஃபர்ஸ்ட், தென் மல்டிப்ளிகேஷன், தென் அடிஷன், சப்ட்ராக்ஷன். இது எங்க மேக்ஸ் டீச்சர் வந்து எப்படி சொல்லி கொடுத்தாங்கன்னா பாட்மாஸ் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி கொடுத்தாங்க. என் பேரு பத்மாவா, அது பாட்மாஸா? அதனால எனக்கு வந்து மனசுல அது ரொம்ப ஈஸியா பதிஞ்சிருச்சு. இன்னைக்கு வரைக்கும் நான் மறக்கவே இல்லை அது. ஸோ இந்த ரூல் தான் அப்ளை பண்ணோம். ஒரு ஈக்குவேஷன்ல நிறைய சைன்ஸ் இருந்துச்சுன்னா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டிவிஷன், மல்டிப்ளிகேஷன், அடிஷன், சப்ட்ராக்ஷன். விகாஷ்னி எங்க ஓடி போயிட்டீங்க?
தண்ணி தான் கட்டிக்குதாமாங்க ஆன்ட்டி.
புரியல.
தண்ணி தான் கட்டிக்குதாமாங்க ஆன்ட்டி.
தண்ணி தான் கிடக்குதா? ஓகே ஓகே ஓகே. அடுத்து இதே மாதிரி ஒரு மேக்ஸ் கொஸ்டின் போலாமா? ஓகே. தெரியுதா?
தெரியுதுங்க ஆன்ட்டி.
ஓகே. சோ என்ன क्वेश्चन அப்படினா அதே ஈக்குவேஷன் தான் இங்க கொடுத்திருக்கோம். 2 + 2 = 4.
Can you go to that box?
Not now. அப்புறமா தான். இப்போ க்ளூ என்னன்னா W அப்படிங்கிற லெட்டர் இஸ் having the value 2. ஓகேவா?
CTW.
R அப்படிங்கிற லெட்டர் இஸ் having the value 6. ஓகே. ஸோ இப்போ இந்த ஈக்குவேஷன் படி போட்டா T ஓட வேல்யூ என்ன, O ஓட வேல்யூ என்ன, F ஓட வேல்யூ என்ன, U ஓட வேல்யூ என்ன?
Oh, the value wins quantifier. Can I put the injection?
ஆன்ட்டி F ஓட வேல்யூ வந்து 1, O ஓட வேல்யூ வந்து 2, இல்ல ஓட வேல்யூ 2, u ஓட வேல்யூ 4, r
ஓட
ஓட
வேல்யூ
வேல்யூ
2
ஆ
ஓட வேல்யூ 2 நல்லா பாருங்க. ஆர் ஓ பிளஸ் ஓ வந்து ஆர்னு சொல்லியிருக்கேன். ஆரோட வேல்யூ 6ன்னு சொல்லியிருக்கேன் நான்.
ஓட வேல்யூ 3,
ஓட வேல்யூ 3 சரி 3ன்னு வச்சுப்போம். ஸோ 3 + 3 6 வந்துருச்சு. டபிள்யூட வேல்யூ 2ன்னு சொல்லியிருக்கேன். 2 + 2 4 ஆயிடுச்சு யூ. அப்ப டீயோட வேல்யூ என்ன? எஃப்என் ஓட வேல்யூ என்ன? ஓ வந்து ஏற்கனவே நீங்க 3ன்னு சொல்லியிருக்கீங்க கரெக்டா? அப்ப ஆன்சர்ல வந்து இது வந்து t + t = 13 வரணும் கரெக்டா? ரெண்டுமே ஒரே நம்பர் ஆட் பண்ணும்போது 13 வர வாய்ப்பே இல்லை. ஏன்னா 13 இஸ் a odd number. அப்ப எங்க தப்பு பண்ணிருக்கோம் சார்? ஆக்சுவலி ரொம்ப சூப்பரா யோசிச்சிருக்கீங்க. ஐ லைக்ஸ் யுவர் தாட் ப்ராசஸ் பிஹைண்ட் திஸ். ஆனா இது வந்து ஒரு ஹோல் நம்பர்னே வச்சுப்போம், ஃபிராக்ஷன் நம்பர் கிடையாது. கண்ணா குத்துது. இட்ஸ் a ஹோல் நம்பர் கண்ணா, ஃபிராக்ஷன் கிடையாது.
See vaccination avula. Easy. Not painful. See, can we go to that spot? That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
டீயோட வேல்யூ இல்ல
It's all the numbers.
ஸோ நம்ம திருப்பி ஃபர்ஸ்ட்ல இருந்து வருவோம், ஓகேவா? ஆரோட வேல்யூ 6ன்னு சொல்லியிருக்கோம். எந்த ரெண்டு நம்பர் ஆட் பண்ணா 6 வரும்? சேம் நம்பர். 3 தவிர
3. 4 + 2.
ஓகே, அது வந்து ஒரு 2 டிஜிட் நம்பரா இருந்தா எந்த ரெண்டு நம்பர் ஆட் பண்ணும்போது யூனிட் பிளேஸ்ல உங்களுக்கு 6 கிடைக்கும்? 8. ஸோ 8 + 8 16 வரும்போது ஆர் 6 வந்துருச்சா? ஸோ 1 வந்து கேரி ஃபார்வர்ட் பண்ணுவோம் எங்க? டபிள்யூக்கு மேல. டபிள்யூட வேல்யூ கொடுத்துட்டாங்க 2. ஸோ 2 + 2 + 1 is 5. யூ வந்து 5ன்னு வந்துருச்சு. ஓகே, ஓட வேல்யூ என்ன கண்டுபிடிச்சிருக்கோம்? ஓட வேல்யூ என்ன கண்டுபிடிச்சிருக்கோம்? ஓட வேல்யூ 3 கண்டுபிடிச்சிருக்கோம்.
ஓட வேல்யூ 8, யூ ஓட வேல்யூ 5, ஆர் ஓட வேல்யூ 6.
இப்போ t + t அப்படிங்கிற ஆட் பண்ணும்போது சம் நம்பர் எண்டிங் வித் 8 நமக்கு கிடைக்குது. ஸோ t + t ஆட் பண்ணும்போது ஒரு 2 டிஜிட் நம்பர் கிடைக்கும். அந்த 2 டிஜிட் நம்பரோட யூனிட்ஸ் பிளேஸ்ல இருக்க வேல்யூ வந்து 8. இப்ப t யோட வேல்யூ என்ன?
9 + 9.
Fantastic, you cracked it, Vijesh. Well done. புரியுதா? நம்ம என்ன பண்ணிட்டோம்? ஃபர்ஸ்ட் தப்பு என்ன பண்ணிட்டோம்னா o + 6 வரணுமா? அப்பனா o + o வந்து 3 அப்படின்னு நம்ம எடுத்துக்கிட்டோம். பட் ஆக்சுவலி 8 + 8 is also 16 where 1 gets carry forward.
Tongue twister பண்ணலாமா?
ஓகேவா? ஸோ நம்பர் வந்து 9 to 8 + 9 to 8 is 1856.
Can we go to tongue twister? Can we go to tongue twister?
அவ்வளவுதான், இன்னைக்கு இது முடிச்சாச்சு நம்ம ஏற்கனவே.
Can I go to the box one?
சரி, என்ன டங் ட்விஸ்டர் நீ சொல்ற சொல்லு.
இது போலாம்.
அது ஏற்கனவே முடிச்சாச்சு லாஸ்ட் டைம். லாஸ்ட் டைம் முடிச்சாச்சு. If you want to tell you ஒரு டங் ட்விஸ்டர் வேணா சொல்லு.
Oh, the big fat cat sat on.
ஓடுற நரியில ஒரு நரி கூட
ட்விஸ்டர் சொல்றேன். நான் என்ன tongue twister?
ஒரே நிமிஷம் ஸ்மைன் சொல்றாரா? சொல்லுங்க ஸ்மைன்.
The fat cat sat on the rat.
ஃபாஸ்டா சொல்லணும்.
The fat cat sat on the rat. The fat cat sat on the rat. The fat cat sat on the rat.
Very good. சொல்லுங்க விஜேஷ்.
the fat cat இதேதானேங்க ஆண்டி?
அதேதான் சொல்லுங்க.
Fat cat sat on the rat. The 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 fat cat sat on the rat.
போதுமா போதுமா? இப்ப விகாஷ்னி சொல்லட்டும்.
Fat cat in the
The fat cat sat on the rat.
sat on the rat. Fat cat sat on the rat. The fat cat sat on the rat. The fat cat sat on the rat. Cat sat on the rat. The fat cat sat on.
வெல் டன். எல்லாம் ரொம்ப அருமையா சொல்லிட்டீங்க. நெக்ஸ்ட் வேற என்ன என்கிட்ட இருக்க? சொல்லுங்க.
Belly bear. Belly bear and
Billu Bear and Bablu bought blue balloons from the bazaar.
என்ன இது டங் ட்விஸ்டரா இல்ல என்னது இது? கதை சொல்றீங்க? பில்லு பேர்
and Bablu bought blue balloons from the bazaar.
I cannot say
விகாஷ் நீங்க பேசுறதே கேக்கல. முடியும் ஓடுற நரியில ஒரு நரிக்குள்ள நரி முதுகுல ஒரு பிடி நேர முடியும். ஓடுற நரியில ஒரு நரிக்குள்ள நரி முதுகுல ஒரு பிடி நேர முடியும். ஓடுற நரியில ஒரு நரிக்குள்ள மோர் ஹாஸ்டல்ல அவ்வளவுதான் மூச்சு வாங்குது. தியா இருங்க. தியா are you there? Can you say hi, Dia? Dia is my classmate. 2006 EC pass out.
You got a friend in your class in here. I want to be thinking.
Dia, can you say hi? Okay. She's in Philippines. Dia, can you show a thumbs up? Okay, you cannot talk, is it?
Who cannot talk?
Dia.
Why cannot she call?
Maybe she's having some work. Never mind. Okay. யார் எத்தனை தடவை சொன்னேனா? கரெக்ட்டா சொன்னேனா?
கரெக்ட்டா சொன்னீங்க ஆண்டி.
ஓகே. அடுத்து டங் ட்விஸ்டர். இல்ல நீங்க சொல்றீங்களா?
நான் சொல்றேங்க ஆண்டி.
கோ.
நான் சொல்றேங்க ஆண்டி. ஓடுற நரியில ஒரு நரிக்குள்ள நரி முதுகுல ஒரு பிடி நரி. ஓடுற நரியில ஒரு நரிக்குள்ள நரி முதுகுல ஒரு பிடி நரி. ஓடுற நரியில ஒரு நரிக்குள்ள நரி முதுகுல ஒரு பிடி நரி. ஓடுற நரியில ஒரு நரிக்குள்ள நரி முதுகுல ஒரு பிடி நரி. ஓடுற நரியில ஒரு நரிக்குள்ள நரி முதுகுல ஒரு பிடி நரி. ஓடுற நரியில ஒரு நரிக்குள்ள நரி முதுகுல ஒரு பிடி நரி. ஓடுற நரியில ஒரு நரிக்குள்ள நரி முதுகுல ஒரு பிடி நரி. ஓடுற நரியில ஒரு நரிக்குள்ள நரி முதுகுல ஒரு பிடி நரி. ஓடுற நரியில ஒரு நரிக்குள்ள நரி முதுகுல ஒரு பிடி நரி.
ஓகே 9 டைம் சொல்லிருக்கீங்க மூச்சு விடாம. ஓகே விகாஷ் நீங்க சொல்றீங்களா?
நரிக்குள்ள நரி முதுகுல
ஒரு பிடி நிறைய முடி.
ஒரு நரிக்குள்ள நரி முதுகுல ஒரு பிடி நரி.
எங்க செட்டப்பே வேற மாதிரி இருக்கு. வேற வீட்ல இருக்கீங்களா?
ஆமாங்க ஆண்டி.
ஓகே.
Guess where is the A in my name?
சொல்லட்டுமாங்க ஆண்டி? இன்னொரு
சொல்லுங்க.
இதுவும் தமிழ் தாங்க ஆண்டி. என்னன்னா
நான் ஒரு சாங் சொல்றேன்.
என்னன்னா 2 செட்டு சோள தோசையில ஒரு செட்டு சோள தோசை சொத்த சோள தோசை.
2 செட்டு சோள தோசையில
ஒரு செட்டு சோள தோசை, சொத்த சோள தோசை.
சொத்த சோள தோசையா?
நான் ஒன்னு சொல்லிட்டேன்.
இது அண்ணா ஒண்ணு சொல்லிருக்காங்க, அதை நீங்க ட்ரை பண்றீங்களா?
நான் 2 ஹிந்தி poems.
அண்ணா ஒண்ணு சொல்லிருக்காங்க, ட்ரை பண்றீங்களா?
So difficult.
ஏன் டிஃபிகல்ட்? ட்ரை பண்ணுங்க.
They
2 செட்டு சோள தோசையில ஒரு செட்டு சோள தோசை சொத்த சோள தோசை. கரெக்டா?
ஒரு செட்டு சோள தோசை, 2 செட்டு சோள தோசை,
ஆமாங்க ஆண்டி.
நான் மெதுவா சொல்றேன் கவனி. 2 செட்டு சோள தோசையில ஒரு சொட்டு சோள தோசை சொத்த சோள தோசை.
ஓகே. 2 செட்டு சோள தோசை,
அதுல ஒரு செட்டு சோள தோசை,
அதுல ஒரு செட்டு சோள தோசை, எல்லா சோள தோசை,
சொத்த சோள தோசை.
I don't.
சரி விகாஷ் நீ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சொல்லட்டும் இத.
ஓகேங்க ஆண்டி.
2 செட்டு சோள தோசை, ஒரு செட்டு சொத்த சோள தோசை, சோள தோசைல ஒரு செட்டு சோள தோசை, சொத்த சோள தோசை, ஒரு 2 செட்ல தோசை, ஒரு செட்டு சோள தோசை, சொத்த சோள தோசை, 2 செட்டு சோள தோசை, ஒரு செட்டு சோள தோசை, சோள தோசை. நான் வந்து 2 ஹிந்தி போயம் சொல்லிட்டா.
நீங்க பேசுறதே கேக்கல.
ஒரே நிமிஷம் ஆண்டி.
விஜேஷ் பேசுறது கேக்குதே, ஏன் விகாஷ் நீ பேசுறது கேக்கல?
சத்தமாவே பேச மாட்டேன் ஆண்டி.
சொல்லுங்க. இப்ப கேக்குது.
2 செட்டு சோள தோசை, ஒரு செட்டு சோள தோசை, சொத்த சோள தோசை, 2 செட்டு சோள தோசைல ஒரு செட்டு சோள தோசை, சொத்த சோள தோசை, 2 செட்டு சோள தோசைல ஒரு செட்டு சோள தோசை, சொத்த சோள தோசை, 2 செட்டு சோள தோசைல ஒரு செட்டு சோள தோசைல ஒரு செட்டு சோள தோசை, சொத்த சோள தோசை, 2 செட்டு சோள தோசை.
5 தடவை சொல்லிருக்கீங்க. வெரி குட், வெல் டன்.
நான் 2 ஹிந்தி போயம் சொல்லிட்டேன்.
சொல்லுங்க.
இதுதான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் போயம். मछली जलती आनी है, जिया उसका पानी है, आपको बाहों पर जागी मानेगी।